Welcome to the Think Factory podcast. We got one question for you. What keeps you up at night?
Welcome back to the Think Factory podcast, powered by OGC Solutions. I'm your host today, Chris Santomassimo. And, our episodes where we're able to visit some of our guests at their own offices and their own facilities is really interesting to me. And today is no exception to that. I'm sitting here in Westwood, New Jersey with Harry Paulison. Harry is the president of Sonic Packaging Industries and here to talk about some of the great stuff that Sonic does for its customers and for its outsourced packaging providers. So welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for the introduction, Chris. I appreciate that.
We love having especially businesses in New Jersey. Since we're here based in New Jersey, not to say we don't travel the country, but I'm always even more excited to talk to local folks. You and I got introduced thanks to some nice publicity about the company, including the anniversary, the 30th anniversary this year of the company.
Yep, we celebrated our 30th anniversary June of this year. So it's been a long ride, but hopefully it's an even longer ride from here. So.
Well, in fact, you've taken a little bit of a ride in terms of your progression through the company. You were formerly the COO and now the CEO of the company, as I understand it.
That's correct. Now I'm the president. Our founder, Howard Tao, passed away back in March of 2024. He will forever be our CEO, and he's greatly missed. But the business continues on in his legacy, and a lot of the projects that we talked about and had gotten started with over a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we've been executing on along with the staff here, and so far it's been really good, and we've had a lot of positive results. So we're very happy and very fortunate for that. Yeah.
Talk about what Sonic does for customers, for those that haven't heard of it before.
So Sonic Packaging is a custom turnkey packaging solutions provider. We work with a variety of different manufacturing partners in this space to do a variety of different kinds of packaging formats, work with different product types that cover regulated, such as OTC, pharma, drug, along with nutrition, certain foods, nutraceuticals, cosmetics, personal care, sexual wellness. And we're able to do that because we have very specific partners in each of those areas with the right certifications and the right equipment and experience. And we work with them as an extension of them and they as an extension of us to service client needs depending upon the project dynamics. And, pretty much everything that comes in is different. Every single project is different. So
that's what makes it interesting, really.
Yeah, it makes it very interesting this way. Yeah.
I always think, printing and packaging for me is this interesting culmination of artistry in terms of how the brand is portrayed, and there's regulatory aspects, as you know, and there's quality aspects, engineering, et cetera, that all comes together to form this outer skin for a product that really makes a huge difference, at least in my estimation, in terms of does the customer respond to that product, do they purchase it, what's their impression of that product when they open it?
Yeah, I think that's really important. Bringing a customer's or a client's product to life so that they get the best experience for their client in terms of its use, its packaging, how well the product performs is really important. And especially for companies introducing new products, you might only get one chance to do that. And so product launches are pretty important, and we service a lot of those kinds of clients, startups, new products coming into the marketplace, and we take them from beginning to end with trials. And they usually have a notion of what they want it to look like, but they don't really have the expertise to find the right packaging partners, and I think that's where we come into play. Also because we're able to guide them down that path, what they need, the things they haven't thought about. And I think also because of the scope of things that we work with, we're able to bring new ideas to how that package could be done versus what they might have been traditionally thinking.
Yeah, that's huge because somebody who's got a great idea for their product may not necessarily appreciate what's new and different, what's available. And
exactly.
And how it all gets priced and Are your packaging providers also fillers in some cases?
Yeah, we do it from beginning to end. And we could do as much or as little as the client likes. Primary, secondary, tertiary packaging. In large part, we're usually doing it complete turnkey. So they might be providing the bulk. In other cases, we'll blend that bulk for them. So we can do the blending, the filling, the packaging, all the way down to delivery. So
you're really the sort of the outsourced, logistics provider and supply chain provider for some of these clients. Really, I have an idea about how the package should look all the way to delivery to the ultimate customer.
That's correct. I think we like to think of it as taking the supply chain complexity out of it for the client, and we take on that complexity instead. I think in a lot of cases, our suppliers of a variety of different types, manufacturing partners that might be fillers, or even component suppliers are people that we've been working with for 25 to 30 years. So we have long-standing industry relationships, and we have access to people that they may never find. And certainly from that perspective, because we have that buying power, they're also getting a better price. They wouldn't get that price necessarily going direct. If you're looking for the cheapest product, that's not us. We're not the nickel stick pack guys. But at the end of the day, if you want quality and you want it done correctly and on time, we're your guys. So that pretty much is the story. We've had clients who start with us, then thought that they could do better on the outside and get a lower price, and they might, only to wind up back with us because they had a nightmare story. And we're usually pulling it out of the fire for them at that particular juncture. And we're happy to do that. I mean, we're here to provide a solution and get rid of the pain points for them. And that's what we're really interested in, is the relationship and just doing the best job we can for them.
Well, you can tell by the name of our firm, OGC Solutions, we're focused on, as you are, creating this thing that goes, this service that goes far beyond just placing orders. It's really consultative, it sounds like.
It is. We're not transactional. We don't intend to be. I think our goal is to really provide the level of service and responsiveness and quality that people aren't finding in the marketplace. We very often get comments from potential clients who are just, sending in an inquiry to how quickly we responded to them, that they had gone to several others and didn't get a response in weeks. And sometimes dealing with plants directly is not that easy, whereas we've got a different relationship with them so we can get those answers faster. And we pride ourselves on that level of service and all the services that we do provide here, because I think in many cases, sometimes people who produce or develop these products don't even know, does this fall into a regulated class or doesn't it? And it really depends on the kinds of claims that they're making on the label and a variety of other aspects. So we're able to help them with that.
Yeah, you're really digging deep into
Very
finding
deep.
out what the client's goal is, what the product's all about, right?
Yeah.
What we see more and more is that new manufacturers, new suppliers are popping up in the marketplace, and to your point, they have a difficult time going to market because their quantities are small. Are you seeing a lot of that too, where you've got clients that are printing in the hundreds or the low thousands rather than the hundreds of thousands? And how do you help those customers?
Well, we try to help them to the greatest degree we can, and it really kind of depends upon the project and the product, the packaging format, actually, because it's very challenging to do flexible packaging in the low thousands. You really just can't do it.
Because the setup time on the manufacturer side, the plates, etc.
Yeah, you almost have to. There are pretty high MLQs, and there's been, I think, some amount of consolidation in the market where a lot of the players who would do 5,000 to 10,000, they're really not out there anymore.
Hard to find that, right?
Yeah, so the volumes really have to be there, and we try to work with clients in that regard. We very often get people who want to run 10,000, and we try to understand what their goal is. You're not really going to introduce a product at 10,000 pieces. I mean, it depends on your scope, but so we don't try to get them to 100,000 right away, but we try to cover that middle ground or come up with solutions that might work for them over the long haul. So let's say, depending upon the product's shelf life, we might say, okay, let's try to run 25,000, and we'll deliver them to you in the amounts that you wanted, but understand that product's still sitting there.
Right.
So you
So
don't
they got to
want
buy
to
it eventually, but at least it's not in their way while they're trying to deal with a small facility.
And they're getting the benefit of that lower price, because you'd almost have to charge somebody for 5,000 what you would charge them for 25,000. I mean, by the time you set up a machine to run, you're already there.
Right.
So, and I think that's what many of them don't understand.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, look, they've got limited cash. They're trying to manage that cash the best they can. But to your point, you're going to show them a different direction they hadn't thought of.
Yeah.
Can you think of any particular, without naming names, but some particular success stories where you've been able to help a client either pull it out of the fire, like you said, or launch their new product?
I think we've got a few. None that I can mention by name, because almost every company that we work with is under NDA. So it's pretty confidential, especially in the regulated area. The best case that comes to my mind is during the COVID pandemic. There was a great need for diagnostic kits, and we were already in that space, and they needed everything yesterday.
Yeah.
And they were putting these kits together, and so we needed to scale from a couple of thousand to 10,000 to hundreds of thousands to millions in a very short period of time. Some of these were larger companies, some of them were smaller companies trying to, get into specific niches where they were going to distribute the product. And because we have a variety of different manufacturing partners, we were able to scale up very, very quickly. And we even made some investments on our own in tooling and machinery to be able to do that, which is something that a lot of people in our space don't do.
Right.
And we continue to do that today.
Getting a little skin in the game, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, it really establishes, I think, a greater trust in the relationship, and really talks about the value that we can provide in that regard.
And that's a great example how you you convert yourself from just a consultant. I don't mean that in a bad way, but a consultant who's providing this, this service to. That's really the pinnacle of it, where you're getting in a partnership with your clients and you're really supporting them in order to get the goal accomplished. That's amazing.
It is. I think we have a very large global client who also during the pandemic, their business was off the charts for a variety of reasons. And that's sort of episodic, but it required us to do a lot of things that we wouldn't normally do and make a particular investment in all the raw materials that were required. Some of these things are very long lead time items.
Right.
And so
they got longer during COVID, right?
Exactly. And so we were able to source new products, get them approved, alternate products, and we were able to establish the inventory levels required to be able to meet their needs for finished goods and be able to get them where they needed to go. So that's an example of a really good relationship, and they worked well with us to be able to facilitate some of that alternate material approval. But I think that's also where the power of sourcing and procurement comes in, because it leaves our manufacturing partners free of not having to do that.
Right.
And they can focus on what they do best, and then we can focus on what we do best. So you really get the power of two to bear on your product, which is something that I think is pretty important.
Well, also, to give you credit for it, I think it's about knowledge of the marketplace and the available materials and alternate products that you could use to accomplish the same goal. I mean, that there's a lot of preparation that goes into that.
That's true. We do have, we're very fortunate that we've got industry professionals here who have been in the business for quite some time. And they've worked in a variety of different areas in production with these different materials, with these different class products. And so we really pride ourselves on being able to really guide customers to that end goal, which is delivery of their product to their client. So,
right.
Yeah.
You would think somebody who's not experienced in the market and doesn't know the alternate products might not even ask the question of, is raw material B instead of A available to accomplish what we're trying to do? And to your point, you may find that that's really the solution that's going to end all of your issues.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think that in many cases they don't. they have a particular way of looking at solving the problem that they have, whereas we're able to throw out additional suggestions and then actually execute on that for them without them having to do it. And so I think that again establishes a pretty good value proposition. I think the other thing that's helpful for us is that 95% of everything that we do is right here in the U.S. That's not to say that some of these materials aren't impacted by tariffs, for example, because there's a great deal of uncertainty around that, but less so than if we were manufacturing offshore, which we do not do. That's never been our model. It's not just sort of what's trendy now. For 30 years, that's the way we've been. So we have a couple of suppliers who are offshore, but not for key materials like that, no.
Yeah, look, if you might save a couple of pennies per unit, but by going to Asia, for example, but you might not realize that there's a problem until it's way too late by the time it gets here, right?
Yeah, and the logistical lead time is just challenging, especially, during different periods. I mean, you can get it ocean freight, but now you're going to have to wait. It's got to come into Long Beach, then you got to wait for it to clear, then you have to. There's a lot of dynamics around that we've been doing this for 35 years. We pretty much know that this is and I was in it before that, so that's why I said 35. So it's like you know exactly kind of what's going to happen, and it sounds good from a unit perspective, but once it hits the dock, it's a whole different story in terms of what that price tag turns into, especially now with this with uncertainty around tariffs, which seem to fluctuate almost daily.
They do, and then you've lost control of the process between order and delivery, right?
That's correct.
And if there's a problem, all of a sudden you got to go back, and the lead time will kill you.
Yeah.
Sure. That's fantastic to hear, and I think it's consistent with what we've seen in some other industries where this, certainly in the last half a year, this nearshoring or reshoring is starting to really take root. And having a domestic supply chain is going to be key for players like Sonic.
Yeah, the reindustrialization of America.
Yeah.
It's odd how it comes full circle, but I think as people start to see how much better that can be, and the more automation that you can throw at it, you can start to reach price equilibrium and not have to deal with the logistics.
Right.
And that's important. I don't think it's true of everything, and I don't think that's the goal, but at least for us, time to market for clients is pretty important, so we've just never gone down that road, right, and never had to. So yeah, we're very fortunate in that regard as well.
So Harry, if you were talking to a new potential customer and they were, sort of telling you about their product and you were going to help them shape their strategy around packaging, what are some of the things that they ought to think about in preparation for that discussion?
I think it all starts with what your business plan is and where you think you're going to go with the product if it's something that's new. That can be trickier because you're modeling it and you don't really know. You have to make a lot of assumptions. I think for other companies that have established products, I think they need to determine where is their customer concentration, how do they want that delivered, what pain points are they really suffering from? Is it packaging quality? Is it product quality? Is it trying to get it all under one roof? And in many cases, it's a variety of those different things. So I think for each one, it's different, just like it's different. Our client portfolio is pretty diverse, from small startup to, multinational global company. They all come to us for different reasons, but in the end, it's all about speed, agility, flexibility, and our ability to work with them and do as much or as little as they want us to do. And I think we can work with that strategy in a variety of different ways. It doesn't mean we're a fit for everybody. We're certainly not. I mean, we do a lot of things, but we can't do everything. But I think over the long haul, it's proven to be a very good model. And some of our clients have been with us for in excess of 15 years. So we're definitely doing something right. But I think it's all about the service and communication and transparency that we provide. And I think relative to strategy, it's always good to be able to manufacture everything here. And there's a variety of different ways that we can even shorten lead times in that regard, depending upon their flexibility around, alternate materials, because there's always a variety of different ways you can go.
Well, and you must be having success on the manufacturing partner side as well, because they're so key in this whole equation.
They are. For us, the manufacturing partner relationship is as important as the client relationship. And we work together with them. We're very transparent about that. And especially when it comes to regulated classes, we do client audits at those plants frequently. Especially at startup, client wants to be able to see their product run. We all meet at the plant and go through the yeah. And in many cases, we're guiding our manufacturing plants to say, specifically, this is what this customer is looking for, whether it's, particular information around batch records or other things, we can accommodate all of that. We've, over the last 4 or 5 years, made a lot of investments in systems and technology, our process, and our people. And so we've grown the staff. We have systems that are capable of doing any variety of things, serialization, lot tracking, which is all required for, especially regulated products. But we approach our other projects in a similar way so that all that information is always available and the information is available and they have all the documentation. And we're able to store all that information directly within the transactions in the system, which has created, sort of a single source of truth, if you will, and made it easier for our employees to be able to process that vast amount of data and still have access to it without having to jump through a lot of hoops on fire, riding backwards on a bicycle, trying to hit a target through a shotgun. So we've made it a lot easier, and then when clients have a need for that documentation, we can provide it very, very easily and very, very quickly. So
it's all about systems, right? And processes that you can repeat each time.
Yeah, we like to leverage technology from a practical aspect if it solves a business problem. Our long-term goal would be to certify our system for CFR 29. I think it's Part 11. I always get that wrong, which is not a simple undertaking. Most companies don't do it because it's pretty big, but we're pretty much on our way there. I would say we're about 60% of the way there. We have more work to do, so that's an ongoing effort, but that's something else we'd like to do because it just makes it easier for the client at the end of the day and our manufacturing partners because they don't have to worry about that part of it.
It all comes back to solutions, like you said, right?
It does. Yeah,
for sure.
It does.
Well, Harry, this was a fantastic look under the cover, so to speak, at Sonic Packaging.
Well, I appreciate that.
Really appreciate you sharing, and I could see the pride that you have in the company and all of the good things you're doing for customers. Where can customers reach out to you?
They can reach out to us in any number of ways at our website, www.sonicpackaging.com. There's a variety of different ways to reach us there, or our main number. Phone number is 201-666
4744.
4744. Thank you very much. I always forget the main number. Or via email in any different. I think we have a new one called hello@sonicpackaging.com.
Perfect.
We wanted to use that instead of info or sales because we just felt it was a bit different.
A little friendlier, right?
A little friendlier.
A little more sunshine for sure. Well, thank you so much, Harry. And this has been, again, Harry Paulison, who's the president of Sonic Packaging Industries in Westwood, New Jersey. I'm Chris Santomassimo, host of the Think Factory podcast, and we'll see you next time.